What is up, all my dorks, nerds, geeks, and gamers? It's your host, Ghost here, and you're watching a brand new episode of Dorks Movie Minute. Today we're going to continue on with our discussion, our series review of Dexter New Blood. We are at episodes 5 and 6. We're going to continue off where we left off from episode 4, talking about episode 5. This episode is titled Runaway, and that is because it mostly deals with Dexter trying to deal with what's going on with Kirk and how he ties into the runaway girls that are disappearing in the town, thus tying in Iris and Angela and everything going on with those two characters, and thus making the title of the whole episode called Runaway. We start this episode off where we last left off Dexter with him finding out that Harrison does have a dark side, and he ends up finding his knife, his straight razor, inside of his bedroom. And he's kind of debating with himself in his head, between himself and Deb, if he wants to confront Harrison about this, either one way or another. He does end up confronting Harrison about it, but it ends up ultimately landing on, hey, you need to do some therapy lessons. And that's about as far as Dexter's going to push it for, because he knows he's got a lot of secrets he really doesn't want to let Harrison know. So he knows if he pries into Harrison, that Harrison's going to pry back. So he kind of lets it be and let it run its course or whatever Dexter needs it to get what he needs done in that situation. After that, we cut to... we have the podcaster coming to town, who is Jamie Chung, who is a great actress, really good in Dragon Ball Evolution, about the only good thing about that movie. She's really good also in the new HBO Max series, the one about H.P. Lovecraft. She's in that, really good in that series as well. But she's basically there to investigate Matt. She hears about Matt's murder, and she thinks that something's up with Kurt, and how he's acting with it all, and the way he said he saw him, but then he's not, and then they can't confirm that he's alive or whatnot. So she leaves with Angela to go to New York City to check and see if Matt is alive, because they have this confirmed over a hotel camera feed that they have. They said they saw Matt, so they go to the hotel to confirm it was him. They get there and come to find out it was some other random guy named Matt, whatever their last name was, and it was totally not who they were looking for. So at this point, Angela and the podcast girl decide to go to a Miami Metro conference that they're having, where we get to see Detective Batista again. Really awesome to see him return from the original series, and to see him kind of allude to Angela that some people, seem different when they're in front of you, and they have a totally different life behind your back, thus kind of hinting at Dexter. And there's this very cheesy dialogue where he's like, oh, and he had that son, what's his name, Harrison, and it just connects her to Dexter right away. Very cheesy, badly written, but it works for the story they're trying to tell, and to speed it up a little bit and get the process going. We then cut to these teens. They pick Harrison up after he done saved the whole school from the school shooter that they know of, supposedly. They don't know about his dark side and all this stuff. So these kids pick him up to celebrate. They take him to this house party, and there Harrison basically does every drug offered to him and drinks every alcoholic beverage offered to him. He ends up overdosing, and Dexter gets a call from the police officers about Harrison being in the hospital. Dexter rushes down there, and from that point Dexter decides, okay, I need to find out who gave my son these drugs, and this person is the next person who's going to end up on my cutting table. And that's exactly what happens. We get this, mostly this whole episode is Dexter tracking down this drug dealer while getting stopped and thwarted in many different times. There's one time where he tries to get him with the sedative in the neck, and then the cop comes up behind him, so he has to throw the sedative and then knock him out with a punch. So it's very on his toes, very much Dexter thinking, being smart. At the same time, we get, this episode has a lot of Kirk dealing with this new runaway girl who's in front of his cafe. Just like all the others, he convinces her to go to this underground cabin area, I guess they call it, where he has this kill room with the camera and all that. Dexter sees him luring the podcast girl into his house. And basically, he tries to stop that. I think that's next episode. I'm getting ahead of myself here. But he does pick up another runaway girl. This girl has greenish hair, and she's trapped in the building or whatever, in the room. And she actually tries to use her charm or her sexual nature to get out of this, using that towards Kirk. And Kirk, being a serial killer, does not like this at all. He freaks out. He tells her to stop over the loudspeaker. He wants her to be like this innocent thing that she's not. So then eventually he ends up opening the room, letting her run so he can finish her off and kill her. But unlike everyone else, she runs towards him instead of towards the tree line where he could shoot her. And so he has to panic and shoots her in the head, and he freaks out completely. And this is the first time we see Kirk actually have a breaking point in his character. where he's not stone cold, has a solution for everything. He freaks out, he shoots her in the head, and then after that, from there, we see the cracks of his personality start to come down. And now it seems like he's starting to unwind when everything else is going on around him with Matt and with them searching the cabins and with them searching the caves. It seems like Kirk is at the center of all of this. And so we're going to have to see in episodes 5 and 6 how that pans out. I mean, episodes 6 and 7, I mean. But yeah, this one basically ends up there. We also get Dexter picking up the dealer. He finally does get his chance to get him. Dexter puts him under the knife, and he kills him in any other way Dexter would have in the series. You know, he takes the knife up, shows him his sins and all this, finishes him off. And then at the very end of the episode, we get Angela finding out that Jim's name is not Jim. He is named Dexter Morgan, and he is the guy that ran away from his family after all the Trinity killings and everything else that happened there. That is episode 5. That's where it ends off. A very nice cliffhanger with Angela kind of knowing who Dexter Morgan is at this point. And it gives us a nice place to jump off into the next episode. So now we're on to episode 6. Episode 5, I'm going to give a solid 7 out of 10. I thought it was enjoyable, but it wasn't it wasn't on your toes episode. It wasn't something that had something popping every time. You know, every 5 seconds you're learning some sort of new information. What I did like was bringing them back Batista and tying the original Dexter series into this New Blood series. And I also like the dynamic between Dexter and Harrison because it feels real in that sense that they do not understand each other at all. And they're both trying to push each other to understand each other and just making it worse on each other because they're so alike. So it's very cool to see that. Moving on to episode 6 of Dexter New Blood, this is Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. And this one actually picks up where basically Harrison has been skipping therapy. Dexter knows this and he warned him he needs to go to therapy. So basically Dexter pulls him to the side and says, you know, we're going to go together. At the same time, Dexter goes to leave the house to get something done. He gets pulled over by Angela, which is not a out of the ordinary thing because she would pull him over all the time. Dexter assumes it's just like any other time getting pulled over by his girlfriend. So he pulls over and come to find out she shows him the obituary of Dexter Morgan, takes him down to the department where she questions him about all of this. Dexter does get out of it. He admits that, you know, he ran away from his problems. He shouldn't have. He's trying now to do better with Harrison and all this. And it kind of opens up the door for Angela why Harrison's so against Dexter, why he's so rebellious. And it kind of just shows her that perspective of his character. But it also hurts her a lot because he did lie about everything, including his name, to her. So she basically tells him to leave, and she'll figure it out later. We then get Dexter and Harrison going to therapy together. They are both finally opening up to each other. Harrison still has this little bit of a character trait where he kind of he keeps saying cancer. Every time he mentions Hannah, he says, yeah, my stepmom died. My stepman died. And then there's a few seconds, and then he says, oh, of cancer. He says it every single time. So to me, that seems like a cover-up for him, for his character. So I think he really does have Dexter's dark side. And I think Hannah was probably his first victim, his stepmom Hannah. And she's no stranger to the dark side as well. So maybe she was teaching him what Dexter wanted him to be taught. Maybe. I don't know if that's what happened there or not. But I'm sure we're going to find out here by the end of the series what's going on with Harrison. And all his past of Hannah and Dexter and all this stuff. So yeah, that's going on at the same time. We also have Angela, who's starting to suspect Kurt now because of the podcaster who's kind of pointing out Kurt and, you know, we should check the caves, we should do this and that. And she's starting to bring on the other partner as well, so they're all kind of suspecting Kurt at this point. We get Harrison sneaking into Angela's daughter's room, which we know they have this really nice friendship together. And they end up sleeping together, which then creates some tension between Angela and Dexter because they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and their kids just basically, you know, are now boyfriend and girlfriend. So they got to decide what to do with that and how to deal with that. And so Angela basically just throws Harrison back at Dexter and says, deal with it. So now Dexter's got that on his plate. Dexter then goes to the bar to kind of forget about Harrison and everything else going on with all that stuff. He sees Kurt and the podcast girl talking to each other. So he decides to listen in, and he thinks that something's up with Kurt the way he's acting. Kurt eventually gets the girl into his car to drive her out to the campground that, you know, is the kill room that he has. Dexter notices this. All the red flags are going up in Dexter's mind because he knows serial killers more than anyone else because he is one. So he says, you know what, this is bad. I need to help this girl or else she's going to end up dying. So he basically goes in, steps in, and it's a very awesome conversation between him and Kurt, because you can tell that they both know what's up. They both know they're serial killers, and they both know they're both trying to hide. So this back and forth they have of cat and cat is very nice, really well written. And even the way Dexter grabs the door handle, he says, "Oh, you want me to close this? You're fine in here." And Kurt grabs the door real quick. "Oh, no, no, no," because he knows there's not a door handle on the other side. So very nice. I love the cat and mouse between him and Kurt at the moment. So they definitely are getting under each other's skin, and they both know that they have reasons to go after each other. So I can't wait to see how that plays out in the series finale, or what they're building up to with that. But they also have this relationship between Kurt and Harrison, who he's like his second father now. But the thing about that storyline is that Harrison is now looking up to two men who are both serial killers, and he doesn't even know it at all. So it's actually very cool, a very intriguing storyline to watch from this perspective. So yeah, after Dexter saves the girl, basically he drives her home. She thanks him, and he was actually already planning on killing this podcast girl anyway, because she was starting to find out too much about Dexter, and dig a little bit too deep. So by him saving her life, he really doesn't have to do that now because she trusts him now. So it's a better option overall for him. So he drops him off. And then we get Angela finally going up to the caves, in search of caves. She ends up finding Iris's body there. And how Iris ties into all this. Is Iris dead from Kurt? Is Iris been there for a longer? Who knows? Is there more bodies in that cave? We'll have to find out. But this episode ends with Jim Lindsay picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, this is Jim." And Angela's like, "I don't need Jim. I need Dexter Morgan." And that's how this one ends. So now the cat is out of the bag. Dexter Morgan doesn't have to lie to basically any character anymore. He can be himself, besides the dark stuff. Of course, he's got to keep that hidden. But it's still intriguing to see that the people in the town still trust him, and to see where this is going to lead as things unravel between Harrison and Dexter and Kurt. Another cool thing to point out was in this episode there was a wrestling match with Harrison in the school, and his dark side actually comes out in front of everybody, and he breaks this kid's arm in front of everyone in the room for no good reason whatsoever other than just violence. That's what he was into. So that's another thing against Harrison that's going into this next two episodes of 7 and 8. But that was episode 6, entitled Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. I give this one a 9 out of 10 just because I really, really like the interaction between Dexter and Kurt. I always love that when even season 4 of Dexter, when the Trinity Killer and Dexter came head to head to each other, every time they would always one-up each other, even in dialogue and in the way they acted, the way they had things set up. They would always try to one-up each other, and they do it here too, and it's very good. It works really well. So like I said, solid 9 out of 10 for that one, solid 7 out of 10 for episode 5. That is my reviews on episodes 5 and 6 of Dexter New Blood. Let me know what you guys thought down below. How are you guys enjoying this series as much as I am? And tell me some of the directions you would like to see these characters go in these last 4 episodes. Let me know down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, or share, and as always guys, keep it right here on Dorkston. I've been your host, Ghost. Adios.